All right, my friends, so I just deleted my Facebook account. So for the business, Heritage Wealth Planning, and my personal one's gone now. And if you're trying to reach out to me, I'm not there anymore. And it was a long time coming, frankly. I've only been on Facebook 2 years. And when I left USAA, a guy went to work for a firm up in Tennessee. And a guy who was kind of mentoring me said, "Oh, you got to get on Facebook. It's a good way to get clients." I said, "Really?" And so I jumped on there, and just real quickly, I became the dopamine addiction of seeing that little bell that says, "Oh, you got a notification." I succumbed to it, and next thing I know, I'm posting stuff, and I'm just on there, just such a time waste. Negative, and again, I never got vitriol, but just posted stuff that it didn't bring people closer together. Let's just put it that way. And I don't want to be part of it during the election. That's no way, man. And thankfully, I was not part of it during 2016. And frankly, I'd rather not know. I'd rather be ignorant of people's politics, relatively speaking, who are family and friends. If they completely disagree with me, I'd just rather not know. It's not worth it to me, and they would rather not know about me. Let's just put it that way. And the problem with Facebook and social media, I'll never have a Twitter account, is that it's too easy to get negative, at least for me. And that might not be the case for you. I mean, hell, my wife hardly ever posts anything. When she does, it's all personal stuff, which is what I think the intention of Facebook was always supposed to be. And I think they're trying to go back to that. That's why they're eliminating a lot of the political stuff. A lot of people say it's bias against conservatives, and it is. But I don't blame Zuckerberg and all these guys for saying we're trying to get rid of the political stuff because it creates a negativity. We don't want that. We want to create positivity, and I think that's actually spot on. I kept Facebook. I was going to delete it about 6 months ago, and I kept it for my business account, thinking I needed it. And it turns out I don't, thankfully. And at some point maybe YouTube will ban. I don't know. We'll figure it out from there, but anyway, but another thing I was going to do on Facebook is it is a wonderful advertising mechanism without question. It's a wonderful if you're going to advertise, and you have a business, being advertising on Facebook is I'm telling you, the days of advertising in the newspaper are just gone because Facebook is so specific, so directed. I mean, this advertising 101 is you got to find out what people are interested in and advertise them and forget all the other people who aren't interested. And if you look at Super Bowl advertising, it's a complete waste of money unless you're building a brand. And if building it or continuing to build a brand, Ford, Coke, and those things, I mean, those guys got the money and they got the brand. They got to keep the brand top of the mind. For you who are starting a business, you can't spend the kind of money saying, just here, look at me, I'm Josh Scanlon, Heritage Wealth Planning. You can't do that. You got to go directly to the people who are interested in what you're doing. So if you're doing carpet cleaning, you got to find out who are interested in having their carpets cleaned. And Facebook, man, I tell you, there's no better advertising mechanism than Facebook. Frankly, I haven't had to do that. And I kept to think I might need to, my books and stuff. And so far, so good. YouTube has been great to me, for sure. And I'm absolutely thankful for YouTube and the good folks at Google for allowing me the platform. But again, with Facebook, just some of the stuff I just wish I never went off it. It wasn't like saying, John, you're an idiot. Never did anything like that. But just, the people see things differently than me, and it's okay. And I just, that's the thing with Facebook is that it's always got to be if this or that. And it's not like that. It's not, especially me of all people. I mean, hell, I don't believe in gun control. I don't believe in freaking drug war on drugs. I think we should protect the environment. And I think the soil I do think man causes environmental degradation for sure. I mean, I think we should let freaking nonviolent offenders out. I think we have too much prisons in the U.S. I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with any right or left. And yet for me to say, well, it's nuts and to fall in that bubble. And I fell for it, man. And I'm ashamed to say that. And again, I never went over the top but enough where it wasn't a positive, it was negative. And then finally I said, I just got to get off this. Actually, my aunt, who I got on Facebook, who commented on something, said, I don't want to get too deep in it, but I said, anyway, so I had posted something, and my aunt said, I said, something, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. So I deleted it. I told my wife, she was, yep. She agreed 100% because she goes, sometimes it's come across negative. And I said, really? She goes, yeah. And I said, well, I'm just my political opinion. She goes, yeah, but people don't have that. And if they don't have it and they read what you write, they might be offended by it. And I said, But like I said, I've only been on there 2 years. And I never got clients from her or anything. And so, but then you quickly get engaged. And then I saw this movie last night. I was watching a show. It's called Black Mirror on Netflix. And it's the Smithereen episode. And that was what prompted me to it. It was, it's a science fiction. Well, it's a science fiction. It's kind of like the modern day Twilight Zone, if you will. And it's a good, I like it. I like that program a lot. And this was one guy, he basically looked down at his phone just for a second while he was driving late at night. And then he looked up and he got T-boned by a drunk driver. But he said, what happened was he got a thing on your phone. If you have the app on the phone, it just, hey, you got a notification. So he looked at it because it's late night on some back road, and he looked down at it, and it was just a guy posting that he liked his dog picture or something like that. And then he got T-boned by a drunk driver, and he said, even though the drunk driver was held responsible, it killed his fiance. And even though the drunk driver was held responsible, the drunk driver died also. But the issue was that this guy said, if I hadn't looked down at my phone, this would not have happened. And even though no one blamed him, but they didn't know that he looked down at his phone. And I got rid of my Facebook app on my phone because it was the same thing. I said, I can't have that. But it was very interesting. And they had, their version of Zuckerberg / the guy from Twitter, who was saying it was never supposed to be like this. And it went on. And it's interesting. I bet Zuckerberg to this day, I know he's loving the life as a rich guy, but I bet he's sitting there saying, I never want it to be like this. That guy from Twitter, Jack Dorsey, look, they're making bank. I get it, but I guarantee they never want it to be how the swamp is. It's just negativity. Negativity is bad, man. And if you're like me and you're again, an excitable guy, you can get sucked into it. But the interesting thing with Facebook is they have, they know the chemistry of the brain. They know it probably better than anybody. And they know what stimulates it. If you look at like pinball machines, remember in the old days, pinball machines, they did studies, and I forgot what the book was, but I read a book a long time ago, and they did studies where the lights and the noises were addictive. And in arcade games, the lights, the noises, and the perpetual challenge just was one more is addictive. And that's how they suck you in. And there was a South Park episode, I'll never forget, Randy, and he's playing a video game where he's chasing the dragon. I guess if you're a heroin smack addict, you're always chasing the dragon. And he's like, he's not doing it in real life on the video. He's shooting into his arm. And he's chasing the dragon, and it says, come on, Randy, come on, you can get me. He's sitting there, he's just like, and he's like addicted to, he's like, I gotta catch the dragon, I gotta catch the dragon. I mean, that's how these things work, is like you never catch it. It never is resolved. There's always one more thing to do. And that South Park episode, I'll never forget watching that. I was like, man, that's crazy. And I didn't know it was called Chasing the Dragon. I don't know if that's still what it's called, but it's Chasing the Dragon. I think I came across hearing that not that long ago. I said, oh man, South Park episode. And Randy's sitting there trying to inject himself with heroin he's playing a video game. He's not doing it. He's playing a video game where he's injecting himself with heroin, chasing the dragon. And he can't not stop. His wife, Sharon, or somebody like that comes in and says, Randy, get off the game. He goes, I'm almost going to get him, Sharon. I'm almost there. And he never gets there. And the same thing with pinball, same thing with arcade games, is there's always more stimulants. And if you read C.S. Lewis, let me find this actually. Hold on just a sec. Let me share you what the great C.S. Lewis in the Screw Tape Letters has written on this, where you have this perpetual need for more and more. This is from Screw Tape Letters. He says, now, this is the devil talking. So the thing about the Screw Tape Letters is the devil writing to. So this is a guy who was a tempter. He's trying to tempt human beings to go to hell, to turn against God. And this guy, Screw Tape, has done so well that he's been promoted to an administrative post where now he's in charge of telling new tempters how to go about their duty to tempt people. So he's talking to a Wormwood. Such a great book. I'm telling you, man, I read it once a year. And he says, okay, Now, just as we pick out, and this is the devil now, just as we, the bad guys, pick out and exaggerate the pleasure of eating to produce gluttony, or sex to produce, it doesn't matter. Anything. The pleasure of doing X to produce whatever it is. In this case, eating to produce gluttony. So we pick out this natural pleasantness of change and twist it into a demand for absolute novelty. This demand is entirely our workmanship. Let's see. Only by our incessant efforts is the demand for infinite or change kept up. So you're always striving for more. I need to get it. You're never content. This demand is valuable in various ways. In the first place, it diminishes pleasure while increasing desire. The pleasure of novelty, by its very nature, more subject than the other to the law of diminishing returns. And continued novelty costs money, so that desire for it spells avarice or unhappiness or both. And again, the more rapacious, the bigger the desire, the sooner it must eat up all that innocent sources of pleasure and pass on to those the enemy forbids. So what he's saying is, I'm telling you, man, it's like you need more to satisfy your need. You need more. So when you first start, I don't know, freaking taking heroin, I guess, you're like, whoa, or whatever the addiction you have. When you first get addicted to it, you're like, oh man, that was fantastic. Or not addicted. When you first do, you're like, whoa, that was awesome. I'll never forget the first time I got drunk. I was like, whoa, it was freaking awesome. But then you lose that novelty of the awesomeness initially, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not as drunk as I was, so I'll drink more. You lose the novelty of the heroin addiction, of the sexual addiction. You lose the novelty. You say, yeah, okay, I need more and more and more, and yet the end result is less and less and less. And so in addicts, look, in any kind of addiction thing, people talk about this all the time. I need more and more and more. And it gives me less and less and less of a high. I hope that makes sense. So initially you're down here, the need, and the high is up here. So the need is down here and the high is up here because it's new, it's novel. But then what happens is the need grows and the high is lessened. And the high is lessened and lessened and lessened until what Screwtape talks about. Again, Screwtape's the devil, where it becomes routine. Like you need more and more and more to get a lower and lower high. But if you don't even have this low high, you just don't know how to function. Alcoholism, perfect example of that. I gotta have a drink in the morning to function. Well, you didn't used to have a drink in the morning. Well, now I do, because if I don't have a drink, I can't function, because I'm so used to having that drink in order to function. I don't know how to live without. So any kind of addiction, like I have this huge need, and I have a tiny, tiny high, and at some point it's not even a high. It's just an addiction that you have to just function. And it's a sexual addiction. I'm telling you, it's the dopamine rush of these things. They're playing on your brain. They're preying on your brain. Heroin addiction, alcohol addiction, addiction to gluttony, as Screwtape talks about. You have this need, an incessant need, and yet the high that you get from it is lower. And that's perfect for the devil. He said, now I don't have to do anything. Then we develop it such a routine that I don't even have to get involved. The tempter, I don't have to do it, because they'll do it on their own for just their functioning. They're so used to doing this that they'll do it just by the state of their existence. And as for me, for Facebook, you always see those little the bells up there. You're like, oh, what's going on? Oh, just some guy posting about your dog. While you drive, boom, you get killed, and next thing you know, you're T-boned and your fiance dies. And that's what happened in this book, or the movie, not the movie, the show, Black Mirror in Smithereen. Anyway, so that's why I'm getting rid of it, just because I know me, man. I know me. I have that perpetual need for novelty. And that's not a good place to be. And so Facebook, the perpetual need is to get more and more and more addicted to posting stuff to see reactions. And you get drawn into the negative reactions, whereas negative reaction, clickbait is negative reaction. It's always based on fear. It's always based on anger, always based on hostility. And I don't want that in my life. I don't need that in my life. I need to be calm, collected, and satisfied. And that's what God wants of us, to be satisfied and content. And the devil say, no, man, no, there's more to it. Just flip the page. Just look at this one Facebook post just one more time. Look at that guy. You know, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. You should post something just to show how smart you are and how dumb he is. And you don't have to say how smart you are and dumb he is, but just you're insinuating by posting that. And that's what I did. I know for a fact. And it's not good. So I got rid of it. And I survived just fine without it. And I'll survive just fine going forward to it. Something to think about. All right. I'm always going to be on YouTube because I love it until they ban me. I don't know why they would. I mean, I'm not freaking, you know, I guess I don't know why I am. I'm just a guy, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I like this platform because it allows me to say what I think is helping people. And I don't think I say enough or do enough where it's negative. Probably sometimes, and I wish I could take a couple things back, but generally speaking, I'd say 95% is positive. And when I do find negativity, I usually, like my man Alberto, I said something about the fire community a few months ago, and that came out wrong. And he told me that, and I got rid of that post. I said something about, like, and my man Fred on my book, on my new book I wrote, I said like Marxist, and while it was true, Fred read it to be like as disparaging on people who disagree with me. And I didn't mean it to be like that. So I got rid of that. I'm trying to think what else. I'm sure there's a couple of things. But even my man Ari, A-R-I-E, is a big lib. He posts some things occasionally like, hey, man, what the hell? And I get that. And so that's it keeps me, my audience keeps me on tap of if I do go too far in one direction. Because you know, I don't want to, frankly, but I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to say it like I say my piece, but I don't want to say my piece where I'm sticking it to people, if that makes sense. So, and even like I just posted yesterday about lawns, like I take a walk, and it's just all these leaf blowers all over the place. I said, whatever happened? There's like all these people mowing, and they're all hired out. I said, whatever happened to just, you know, the guy on a Saturday afternoon mowing his lawn? And a couple guys said, well, they mow their lawn during the weekday because most people aren't home. Ooh, I said, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point because I happen to work from home. I didn't think about that. I still hate the leaf blowers. I hate it. Oh my goodness, the leaf blowers is such a waste. It's such a noise pollution. But you know, I can say stuff that probably gets perceived incorrectly, and you know, I don't want to say taken to task. Sometimes I am, but sometimes, you know, people say, and I get that, and anyway, I appreciate it. So there you go. I don't know what the whole point of this whole thing was. Again, just off my rocker, but read the book, Screwtape Letters, man. I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. It's like, all right, we'll see you next time.